All right, what's up, everybody? Brandon Lindsay here with the Rehabber's Playbook. I'm here with a good friend. These are all good friends of mine with these interviews. And this is Sandra Arnold. And this is just par for the course for us because we talk almost every day nowadays,
Mhm.
Sandra, don't we?
Yep, yep.
Honestly, sometimes I wake up, I'm like, I'm gonna give Sandra a break today and not call her. But Sandra, how are you? Say hi to the group.
Hi, everyone.
How are you today?
I am good. I'm good.
I like how I said to the group. I think I'm still in TRP mode, but this is
Yeah.
my YouTube audience, I guess.
Yep.
But I'm really excited about this conversation. This is a conversation I've been like trying to get to happen for a while. But to be fair, it's best to happen right now because you're at the final stages of your first new build, right?
Yes, yes, finally.
How does
It's
that
been
feel?
like a year.
Well, the build hasn't been a year, but
No, no.
yeah,
The whole
the
process from like
process.
beginning to now. Yeah.
That's something I didn't even think about. We could talk about that today too, kind of those
hmm
special use permits or conditional use permits. Those are always fun. That scares a lot of people away from new builds. But our goal
hmm
today is to show people that new builds are not that scary. There's some challenges, unique challenges, but there's a lot of unique parts of it that may be a little bit easier, a little bit smoother. We're
hmm
going to talk about your perspective as a first-time new builder and what you've learned, lessons learned, the challenges that other people can learn from. But
hmm
before we do that, why don't you give a little introduction of who you are, what you do, and where you do it?
Okay. Well, I'm Sandra Arnold and I'm in Richmond, Virginia. I got into real estate about 3 years ago. I was listening to Bigger Pockets and all those things, and got really excited about it. Started going to meetups, and just started networking and realized that, oh my gosh, this is what I want to do.
Yeah.
So I'm still very much a rookie, but I was able to acquire a couple of properties. I've done some rehabs and now this new build, and I mean, it's so much fun. I love this.
I can tell you love it. And that's why you are such a great member of the Rehabber's Playbook too. Such a great member that you are a TRP captain, which
Yeah.
honestly, so happy that I'm so happy to name you as one of the captains because you embody so much about what it means to be in the Rehabber's Playbook, which is not only the fact that what you just said, you love what you do, which is a huge
Yeah,
part of it, right? I feel like it's very important for us to have some sort of enjoyment in what we do, even if money is a goal
definitely.
or we have other purposes and whys. But you also show a great example of somebody who started, like you said, you're kind of still a rookie. I wouldn't consider you a rookie, but you're newer to the field, newer
hmm
to the business. And you just dive right in and you learn and you focus and pick from your network and you meet people. And I think that's such an important part of not only being in the Rehabber's Playbook, but just being a real estate investor, entrepreneur altogether. Where did that, I mean, I don't want to talk too much about mindset. And honestly, as much as I think both of our backgrounds and your background's very important, I want to get into the nuts and bolts.
hmm
But where did that come from? I think that's such a important part of what you do and your success.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I was in the corporate world for like 16 years before I started doing this.
Hmm.
And I always felt like I wanted to find something that was, a passion, like something that's really fun doing. It was not fun in the corporate world. So when I found this, it was like, oh my gosh, this is what I want to do because I can build something for myself and for my family and hopefully also have more time with my family and I don't have to ask someone else for permission to, you know, take time off or to go to do different appointments or whatever
Sure.
and have a goal that's when I achieve it it's for myself and for my family and that was really like that's yeah that drives me so
I
yeah.
can tell. I mean, you're such a great mom. You and Crane,
Oh, thank you.
great parents, and you also show that you enjoy what you do with everything.
I
and
try.
you're also lenders, which is something I think
Hmm.
is important to share. So if people are looking out for good lenders, I think they can always reach out to you in Crane.
Yeah, definitely.
Anyway, let's talk about your first new build. So
Yes.
this is really, and you can help me with this. I really want this conversation to come from the perspective or help people with the perspective who might be in rehabbing, they might be new, or they
Hmm.
might have been rehabbing for years, and now they want to at least they're intrigued with new builds, or they want to jump into new construction.
Hmm.
So help me make sure that we're guiding the conversation that way.
Yeah.
So let's start from the beginning. How did this deal come to you, or how did you find this land? And
Yeah.
what is your idea of how did it come to your attention? Like, hey, I could build something on this and
Hmm.
make money on this, whether that's to sell, to rent, whatever it is, right? What did
Right.
that early part look like to you?
Yeah. So, a fellow real estate investor had found this property and they weren't going to keep it for themselves. So they basically wholesaled it to me. And so I knew when I was looking at it and running my numbers and everything that it came with an extra lot. And I had heard from, being at all the
So it was
meetups
a
and
house, right?
yeah, it was a house. Yeah,
Gotcha.
sorry. It was a
Yep.
house with an extra lot.
Hmm.
And I'd heard from being at meetups, and I had already joined TRP at that point, and had seen and heard about new construction. And so I thought, okay, this is great. Like I can rehab this house that's already there, rent that out, and then I can build on the second lot.
Hmm.
And so we purchased the house and the lot, and then when we went to refinance, Lindy actually helped me, and she was like, make sure that when you refinance, you only uh, refi the lot with the house on it. That way,
Right.
you own the second lot free and clear.
Yep.
So that's what I did, and then I had to go through a bunch of steps because it's in the historic district and it's much smaller than the lots are allowed to be to build
Right.
on.
Hmm.
And that's why it's taken so long. But basically that's how it came to me, is from another real estate investor.
I will say that's very common. I think that's a very common way that people get into new construction is they just have this
Hmm.
extra lot. It ends up virtually being a free lot,
Yeah.
in a way. And then they say,
Mhm.
this is the best time for me to shoot my shot.
Yeah.
But some people just sell it. And in
Yeah.
my opinion, if you really know that new construction is not your thing, sure, go sell it. But
Hmm.
sell it to me or Sandra.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But I think it's such a good time for people to get into new construction because there's a lot less risk. It's not like you're
Right.
dependent on that one deal.
Yeah.
And you can really make mistakes if you have to make mistakes. Look, we all make
Hmm.
mistakes on projects, and as long as you're surrounded by the right people, you limit
Yeah.
those mistakes and you can maybe make a business out of it.
Yeah. And the nice thing too, I felt like, was that I didn't feel rushed because I didn't have to make any payments or anything on the lot. I
Such a
already
good
owned it
point.
at that point. So that was really nice to just be able to take my time a little bit since I've never done it before. So,
Such a good point. Yeah.
mm,
Now, I hate to break our stride here, but let me try something. I want to see if my blurred background is better. Okay. For some reason, this time of day when I film, the I get blurry. So if I blur my background, I'm less blurry. All right. Sorry about that.
no, it's
Um,
okay.
yes, I love that you had the confidence to say, "Hey, look, I'm not just going to sell this lot." Like you could have sold that lot, probably made
Hmm.
even $10,000 if you wanted to make it a quick sale. I'm sure you could have sold
Hmm.
it up to maybe potentially 20,000. But you said no, I'm going to build on it. Now, what's
Hmm.
your exit strategy? I think this is interesting too. You're not building it to sell. What's
No.
the idea here?
Yeah, I'm building it to keep it as a rental, and I'm going to keep it as an Airbnb rental. And mostly because I started doing research in the neighborhood, and the city is they're investing a lot in that area. It's the historic area of Hopewell, and they are actually they were given a grant to restore an old historic building walking distance from me, and they're going to make that into an event venue. And so I thought, okay, well, that's perfect for me to have an Airbnb right there. So
It's
then I can,
amazing.
provide housing for whoever comes to events there. So
I love that side of Hopewell where you are,
yeah,
that little pocket there.
yeah,
It's so quiet. It's right by the water. You have
hmm
some really nice properties up on the water
yeah,
there,
yeah,
so I think you took advantage of a great opportunity there.
yeah, yeah. I just hope they get started. Well, they have started a little bit, but they need to hurry up.
Sure, yeah. So when you got what were your first, this is what I see. So just so you know, a little background too is the reason I'm so excited about this conversation. I've seen a lot of different questions and intrigue in in this business ever since I started the Rehabbers playbook, right?
hmm
But there's nothing that's more intriguing to people than getting into new construction. Like there's
hmm
literally, you see some people interested in different parts, but everybody's at least interested, if not trying to make that jump. But
hmm
there's always that concern in the back of their head, like, what if I'm not equipped? What if I don't have the team?
Yeah,
What if I don't know the process? What were some of your biggest concerns that you
yeah.
had going into new construction?
Yeah, I mean that I was definitely feeling all those things like what I have no idea what I'm doing. What if I completely mess things up and lose a lot of money and but really I mean what gave me the courage was because of the TRP group and I went back and forth on okay, should I try to do it completely by myself, and then I realized no, I really, at least for my first one, I really want someone to be there and like hold my hand and guide me, and so thankfully I have you.
I
and
did
and
not, I'm not paying Sandra to say that.
no,
That's great. Yeah, well,
but
I mean, go ahead, sorry.
it's true. I mean, that really made me feel so much better, and like I think now I can maybe do it myself next time. I would probably still hire you to at least like be there as a, I can give you a call.
I would
But
always
I
be
just,
there. Yeah.
but like with all the material that we have in TRP and all the, videos you can go back and look at, all the documents, like it's all there. So I mean, yeah, I just figured and I have the support of everyone. I mean, Trevor, like all these other people who've done it before, whenever I post anything, a bunch of people jump on and help, um, whether it's like with a floor plan or budget or selections or just venting, so
Sure.
that's
Yeah.
really that's made it so much easier. I don't know if I would have dared do it if I didn't know that I had this support, honestly.
It's
So
great to hear. Yeah.
yeah.
And just so you know, I mean, you know this as well as anybody, but anybody watching who might not know much about TRP or even people in the group, you know, a big shift that we've been making recently is to focus on the community, to focus on the group, right? Because we have all the resources and tools and video trainings, like you said, that you can probably get at this point. We talk about pretty much everything, but
hmm
there's nothing like having a group there. And if you're
hmm
really talking about what TRP delivers, is I always like to say we deliver confidence, right?
hmm
We want to make sure people feel really comfortable going
hmm
into any type of project. And there's nothing that gives more confidence than just knowing that if you have a question, you can
yeah,
post it to the group. You can reach out to Trevor directly. You can reach
right,
out to me directly or somebody else in the group.
yeah,
So it's more than just me at, making a bunch of videos and resources like the nerd I am. It's more of like, let's make this culture of people
yeah,
who help each other out. One of the
yeah,
things I'm most proud of is if you post something in the group, you're going to get a bunch of people answering and helping. So that's
yeah.
fantastic. Yeah,
Yeah, and I mean, because one of the concerns I had was like, well, I don't have most of these connections that I need. I don't have a framer. I don't have a, and I knew that, okay, but I'm going to be able to get all that from the group.
that's right.
Uh, so that was also huge because otherwise, yeah, I don't know. I guess you just spend a lot of time trying to find all these subcontractors and vendors that you need, and trying to compare, like trying to get all these bids, and now I've still gotten bids, but I already know that I have some trusted sources to go to and not waste my time with, you know, other people who might be not so good.
Well, for example, in just even your project, we're using a new footing and foundation contractor that I got from Neil,
Hmm.
who's in the group. I've always
Hmm.
had my own footing
Yeah.
and foundation contractor, but this guy gave us a better price and had a better schedule. And now
Hmm.
he's literally doing a new construction for me right now in Richmond. He
Yeah.
just, he's done 3 or 4 projects for me. And, sharing these resources and these contacts is a huge part of what it means to be a rehabber and a
Hmm.
builder. And it
Yeah.
doesn't, of course, we're not trying to make this an infomercial for TRP, but if you look at you specifically and
Yeah.
why you are such a great person to be considered a TRP captain, before you were doing new builds, I remember when you had your first rehab, or at
Hmm.
least a
Yeah.
rehab on Bank Street, the
Hmm.
first house,
Yeah.
and you were posting your scope of work to the group.
Right.
And of course, the group came in and they were saying, we think this price is a little high, this price is perfect. But
Yep.
the the you actually taking that step and posting that and having
Hmm.
some people just unfortunately I'm this type of person sometimes, or at least I grew up this person in the business. Sometimes you don't want to ask for help. But
Yeah.
I think you're such a great example of being like, hey, look, it's who, not how.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get other people's opinions. I'm trying to leverage my network. So it's
Hmm.
kudos to you. Not only the fact that TRP helps you out, but the fact that you lean on that to the
Hmm.
most that you can. So it's great to see.
Yeah.
So you come in, you have concerns. How do you talk about how you overcome the concerns, right? So you're
Hmm.
starting to go through the new build, right? What are some of the challenges or learning lessons that you really can take home from this project so far? And what are some that you can maybe help other people out who are watching this conversation?
I think definitely like documenting everything.
Mm.
And even
Oh, I
though
love that.
I
Yeah.
try to be really good at doing it, but I still miss things. I mean, you're busy with everything that's going on, and
Oh yeah.
then you come home and you forget to write it down, and then a few days later you're like, oh man, I should have, because now you start forgetting things, or but that's huge, like documenting everything so that I can go back and understand and review and use it for next time, and just yeah, just be able to follow along, because everything is so new to me. I mean, just the terms, like the words to use, and
Yeah, sure.
the order of things, and I know I've asked you the same questions like 100 times probably, but it
No?
but so writing things down is something that I've learned that I really need to do. um
And by the
and
way, that's a key tenet of what we do at the Rehabbers Playbook is literally document everything. We have like a
yeah.
list of 5 or 10 things that we notice we say over and over, and that's certainly one of them. Because
Yeah.
even with your point of like everything's so new to you, but
Hmm.
you just don't want to keep relearning it because think about it.
Hmm.
By the end of this project, you're going to have 200 something thousand expenses. You're going to have dozens of contractors, dozens
Hmm.
of different scopes of work, a lot of different things that happen.
Hmm.
Would you rather learn that all over again and have to fill in the gaps again, or just have a great place where you can
Right.
and document everything?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So yeah.
Any other learning lessons?
Oh,
Putting you on the spot.
I know.
But I
I
think
I
this
mean,
is
I'm
such a
sure
great
there's so
conversation.
I
Yeah,
mean, I'm learning every day, because I'm learning, things that I need to do better, or keep up with, like documenting and all the receipts, and keeping up with the budget and all that stuff. But it's also, I'm learning, the order of how you do things in new build, like when do
sure.
you need to order the windows, and what happens if something is delayed, and not to freak out, because that's that's another thing. I think I've done a pretty good job, but there have been a
Oh,
couple of times where I'm like, oh gosh.
Sandra, I got to tell you, you absolute, or at least if you freak out, you don't show it.
Oh, good. Yeah.
And I don't think we've made it very clear. I've been helping Sandra with this new build.
Hmm.
We team up on it, you know.
Hmm. Yep.
So just to make that clear, because I'm very close to the project, I know it very
Yeah.
well. And yeah, you trust me. I've dealt with clients and partners for a long time. If you freak out, you don't show it. That's for sure.
Okay, well, that's
Just
good.
so
No, but
you know.
I've really been trying. And that's again, I think also because I know that, I mean, like if I see you freak out, then I would freak out. But since you're like, oh, this is fine, I'm like, oh, okay. I don't have to worry about this. So, yeah, just letting things happen. I mean, it will be fine. It will, everything is, what is it that Lisa Englehart says? Everything is
Figure
figure
outable.
outable. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, she is so perfect with all of, she's a great example of it too. And I
Yeah.
put out a post recently, and I think you saw it. You did because you commented on it. But I always say what, or at least I said there in that post, one thing that makes me know if you're experienced in rehabbing or construction is if you have the ability to stay calm under pressure,
Hmm.
because that's really, it's really just a game of how much pressure can you take without freaking out.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, you could almost boil down a lot of what we do to that.
Hmm.
And when you freak out, you don't solve problems. You only
Yeah.
focus on the problem. There's a lot of bad negative things. You start finger pointing, you start losing team culture,
Right.
all these things. So
Yeah. And I
you
mean, the
can't
thing
think
is that
clearly.
nothing is ever going to go exactly as planned. There's always going to be things that change, or, I mean, all of a sudden we had to change the siding, or we didn't have to, but we decided to change the siding because of some information that we received. And like that wasn't expected, but it all worked out. So,
You're hitting on so many great points. Yeah, absolutely. Stay calm, carry on. That's definitely like something that we try to say a lot in
hmm.
teaching rehabbing and construction. And another thing is construction is an imperfect business. It's just
Hmm.
that's the way it is. There's no such thing as perfect in construction. And if you're ever dealing with a partner or a client or a lender who believes that everything's going to be perfect, you need to not walk away but run away
Yeah.
because it's not the case. And those are the people who probably freak out the most. Those are the
Hmm.
ones that are like, oh, the trim was supposed to be exactly perfect. Now a new
Right.
construction trim probably should be perfect, but I think everybody gets the point.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that I think we realize that too with new construction is even though it's very clean cut, you have less limitations, you still have some limitations, right?
Hmm.
And I think that's something we learned through the process also. Um,
Yeah.
for example, like the ceiling lights in the kitchen. Um,
Hmm.
there are some limitations on what we could do, where we could do it, if it
Right.
actually makes sense with the floor plan. Is that something that you think you would have learned through the process too?
Yeah, I think yes, I think next time I will study the floor plan better ahead of time
Mm,
and like think through some changes, and probably what I should have done is I should have uploaded it to the group and just had people brainstorm like, hey, is there anything with this floor plan that you would have changed? Because now afterwards there's some things I would have changed and thought about, and okay, do I want to have a light above the sink? Well, then where is, does that make sense? Well, and some of these things you probably can't know ahead of time, but like
some of them you can't.
some,
Yeah.
yeah. um, but there's some things I would have done differently for sure. And next time I will. And I'm sure I'm gonna, do something differently that time too, like for the third new build.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah,
But it's still that idea of like new construction. The best thing about new construction is it's a lot more straightforward and a lot more clean,
yes,
right? I think
yeah.
clean is one of the best words to
Oh my
describe it.
gosh, yes,
Yeah.
yeah,
But there's still things that change because we change. Our exit strategies may
yeah,
change, not yours, but circumstances change, costs
yeah.
change, tariffs come, whatever it is,
Right, yeah,
right? So you're still adapting. You're just
hmm,
having to adapt a lot less. So let's talk
yeah.
about the positives of new construction. I think I might have just stole your thunder, But
Yeah. No.
what have you really enjoyed about new construction, and would you do it again? Is this something that you
Yes.
want to do again?
Absolutely. Yeah, I definitely want to do it again. I mean, it's so much fun to see, just breaking ground and then every step happening and this house is just being built right in front of your eyes. It's so
Mhm.
cool. And it is so clean. It's so nice. I mean, I was working on a rehab at the same time and you know, that was great and everything, but yeah, no, this is so much cleaner and nicer, more fun. I definitely will prefer new builds over rehabs going forward.
That's something you hear a lot in new construction is people who did rehabs before and they say, I'm never going back to rehabbing, right?
Yeah,
And I think
yeah,
you probably feel that a lot right now.
yeah,
Especially,
yeah.
you're right, that's a perfect comparison. We were dealing, I know the rehab you're talking about. The
Mhm.
problems we were dealing with new construction was, oh man, I don't know if a ceiling light's going to look good over that kitchen sink. The
Exactly. Yeah.
problems we were dealing with over there is why is the ceiling falling off the roof? Why
Yes.
is the ceiling falling down? So
Yeah.
it's a whole different ball game, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, even though also with new construction, you you can blow your budget and you can have budget surprises, but it, it seems a little more straightforward. With rehabs you can run into huge surprises that will change everything, and now you already purchased the rehab and you have this budget, and yeah, it might end up a little bit worse than you thought. But with the new construction, I mean, I just feel like you can plan better from the start.
That's right.
So
Yeah. And
yeah.
for those who are watching this who don't have experience with it, they might be sitting there thinking, well, I don't know how much a footing and foundation costs. I don't know how much new construction framing costs. But these are probably easier things to find out through your network, through a community, through a
Mhm.
builder that you may know or a contractor that you may know. And as long as you get pretty close and you have all your line items accounted for, you're right.
Mhm.
You don't really run into surprises. It's kind of that idea that we always talk about with budgeting is, all right, maybe you underestimate footing and foundation, but you overestimated framing and you came
Mhm.
in under budget on drywall. So by the
Mhm.
end of the project, it should all come out in the wash. And then you
Yeah.
should always have maybe a 10% contingency to fall
Right.
back on. But with rehabbing, that contingency gets wiped out. It's really
Yeah.
hard to estimate how much that ceiling repair would cost. Even for me, it's like, do we have to
Yeah.
frame it? Is it all new drywall? Does it go down to the walls? There's so many more questions. It's
Mhm.
kind of like that idea. I always tell people new construction is easier to estimate for because if I was gonna do all new hardwood in a house, right? I just have to say 1,500 square feet of hardwood, $3 per square foot for the hardwood, whatever it is, $1 per
Mhm.
square foot for the install. Easy math, right?
Yep.
But when you walk into some of these rehabs, it's like, well, the kitchen needs new hardwood. I need to replace these rotted boards from the leak. I need to
Yep.
refinish all these. You're adding up all these very vague items, and it's
Yeah.
hard to get accurate with,
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
you're hitting on a
Yeah.
good point. Yeah. So,
Mhm.
I think if you had one piece of advice to give people who are interested in getting into new construction, I think we've
Mhm.
talked about a lot of it. I feel like I'm putting a lot of pressure on you to come up with new answers, but it's okay. I know you'll come up with good answers. But what piece of advice, what kind of yeah, what
I
could you
think,
give to people who are interested?
yeah, I mean, I think just decide to do it and do it with help. Like especially for the first one, have someone help you, someone who's done it before, someone you trust. And yeah, don't be afraid to ask for help. And it doesn't have to be maybe, full-time help, like the kind of partnership you and I have. Maybe someone is more experienced than I was going into this, but have someone help and just do it. Yeah.
I love it. I mean, I couldn't have said it better myself. It's one of those things where when you're in this business, think about the leap it takes for you to get into real estate investing. That's a
Hmm.
leap already. Then a leap it takes you to get into, let's say, you're transitioning from wholesaling to flipping. That's a
Hmm.
leap.
Hmm.
The leap into now being a buy and hold investor like you, or the leap into being a lender like you and Crane.
Hmm.
Taking the leap into new construction is no different than, you know, the
Yeah.
fact that you need that confidence. You might need more people around you. You might need to broaden your network. But once you get into it, I have not seen anybody get into new construction and back away from it.
Right. Yeah.
So that would be, I think, if there's any confidence that people need, it's right there. So.
Yeah.
Sandra, I appreciate you. You're the best.
Oh, thank you.
I admire what you and Crane do from a distance, not only building your company, but growing your family in the way that you guys do. So thank you so much for being on. Like I said, I've been looking forward to this for a while. So
Thank you so
thank you
much. It
so much.
was an honor.